Right, G. So I want to share a tool you can use to quite accurately predict your future. So this came to me in a dream last night. Now you know you're in for a wishy-washy new age video when someone says the content in this video came from a dream, but this I mention that because that's a good sign. If you're sleeping well and dreaming, your brain rewires. So REM and deep sleep are both crucial and important, but REM sleep makes new connections in the brain. So you can often wake up after a good night of sleep where you get good REM sleep, where previous problems or things that you've been wrestling with in your mind get solved. That's why sleeping on it is a good idea if you're trying to solve a problem. And throughout history, many prominent thinkers and inventors have used sleep as a tool for coming up with good ideas. So there'd be certain, I can't remember where, I think it might have been Einstein, who would, and Nikola Tesla used to use this. You kind of sit on a chair, and he would have a metal plate on the floor, sit in his chair, hold a metal ball in his hand, and then kind of drift off. And when he fell asleep, he'd drop the metal ball. It would hit the metal plate on the floor and wake him up. And he did that as a way of coming up with good ideas, because you tap into that REM sleep and then instantly wake up and you can remember it. So I just mentioned that because this is actually a piece of information I learned from Paul Chek. So definitely look at his videos ages ago, and it just came to me last night. So I thought, oh, this is a good topic, and it's something that you might not use. So if you want to predict your future, basically what I got from the dream was, there was a bit of a storyline to it, but the message was, your life and how your life unfolds is just a series, it's due to a series of choices. So you have many choices in life, and the outcome, we live in a cause and effect universe. So if you do one decision, this is going to happen. If you throw a stone in a pond, it's going to create ripples. It just is how it works. You can like that, you can predict the future with how that pond is going to react to the stone you throw. So then you have a choice. And this is true in your life. So we talk about diet on this channel quite a lot, and it's just a series of choices. Dieting, it's not luck. There's very little luck associated with it. It's cause and effect. If you want to lose weight and you go out with your friends and you have one beer, that's a choice you made. Well, that beer has a lot of sugar in it. That's not going to help you with your diet. Then you have another choice. Do you have a second beer and a third beer? And then at the end of the night, to sober up a bit, do you have the sketchy chicken shop meal that you normally have at the end of the night, which is 3 o'clock in the morning? And that was a choice. You've now got poor sleep. So it's quite simple that your life is a series of choices. Now you've got 3 options. You've got the optimal choice, a suboptimal or the worst choice, and then kind of a 50-50 choice in the middle. And this is where what Paul Chek would call the crystal ball comes in. So you can quite accurately predict what your future is going to look like by looking into the crystal ball. And we, as humans, we are quite lucky. We have the capacity to imagine, and we're not just present. We're not fully in the present. We can project forward into the future and kind of predict how it's going to go. And this seems obvious, but how often do you use this? And you can use this to your advantage. So if you look into your crystal ball and you do this with certain areas, you can do it just in general about your life, or you can say, I'm trying to lose weight. I weigh 200 pounds and my goal weight is 160 pounds. Whenever you're faced with a choice, you can look into the crystal ball and go, I want to lose weight. There is a chocolate cake in front of me. Choice 1 is eat the chocolate cake. Now you can quite accurately predict how that's going to affect the outcome. Choice 2 is don't eat the chocolate cake, and you can predict how that's going to affect. And then choice 3 is kind of like some lukewarm middle ground, which might be just have half of the slice of chocolate cake because it's better than eating all of it or whatever. So you've got a few options, and it's a spectrum from the most optimal choice to the worst choice possible. And if you do this in your life, just think, if I made from this moment on, the worst choice every time I'm faced with a choice. So I'm faced with a piece of chocolate cake and I eat it. And then my mate says you should buy a scratch card, and then you buy it, which is like a gamble, so that's gambling. And then just every choice you're faced with, crossing the road without looking, you can go really deep into this. So as a thought experiment, just think, suboptimal choice, the worst choice every single time. You would probably either end up in prison or dead quite quickly. Like, you can project forward, you can look into the crystal ball. Suboptimal choice every time. You could quite easily kill yourself. Do you know what I mean? You cross the road without looking. Somebody cuts you off in the car, so you take the road rage too far, or a choice is you can just drive into them. Sometimes you get that initial I'm just going to drive into you. Maybe that's just me, maybe I'm just a reckless geezer, but you know what I mean. Pick the suboptimal choice and look through, and you don't choose that because you can see where it's going to go. You already do this subconsciously. Now this is where it gets interesting. Take every single choice that you're faced with, and deep down, you know what the optimal choice is, what the absolute best option is. But you don't do it, and neither do I. Very rarely do we do this. There's a few people that do this, and then look at that. Stare into the crystal ball and go, right, every single time I'm faced with a choice today. I don't know what that is, but he's very loud. There are some quite active ducks in a pond around here, so it might be the ducks. So you look into the crystal ball. Every choice is perfect, and that's an interesting experiment, because you will see quite quickly how with the suboptimal choices we quite quickly ended up in prison. So you might go to the shop and you have a choice to just steal the item out of the shop. If you do that, you could get caught and go to prison quite quickly. So it's quite rapid how it spirals down to some bad outcome. And the same is true if you make the perfect choice every time. It quite quickly becomes a really good outcome. Now, you are where you are and I am where I am because I do kind of 50% not a good idea, 50% a good idea. And you can tell this with your diet. Your weight and your physique and your body fat composition is a direct result of you sometimes eating the cake, sometimes not eating the cake. And that's obvious. You do a good week and you start seeing the abs showing. It makes sense. So you use this tool. Anytime you're given a choice, you just look and you go, if I made the worst choice, where would I end up? So I think you get the idea. But if you're mindful of this, we kind of just do what we feel. So I feel like eating the cake today and I don't feel like it tomorrow because I ate it yesterday and now I've got to make up for it. That's wishy-washy, lukewarm. But if you start visualising what your life would look like with the perfect choices every time, you start to get excited as to what it could look like what it could pan out to be. And then every now and then, you still don't instantly make the optimal choice because it's feelings and, emotions. You eat because of emotion. It's not as easy. If you're a robot, you can just decide I'm not eating the cake. It would be very straightforward, but there's reasons why you still do these suboptimal choices. But when you start looking and you go, and this is what success is. So everyone that you look at that's successful, apart from luck, which plays a very little role, they are people that just make the optimal choice when you make the 50-50 or the suboptimal choice. That's literally the only difference. In a series of events where they've been presented with choices, they've made better choices. And if your life isn't going how you want it to go, chances are it's down to these choices. So it seems obvious, if I make bad decisions, my life's going to turn out bad. But we take this ability for granted. So if you start looking at your life and go, did I make the best option, the best choice possible? You probably made some good choice, but it wasn't the best. And then you'll start looking at successful people a bit differently and go, oh, they're probably there, whether that's money or good body, whatever it is, because they've made some better choices than I have. And I'll do this with my friend. My friend is further along the fitness journey than I am, better physique. And I'll look at some of the choices. If we have a cheat day, normally we have a a nice breakfast after the gym on a Sunday, his cheat day don't look as dirty as mine does, because he's making slightly different choices. So even on a cheat day, even when we're factoring in the bad choice, the suboptimal choice, he's still not going over the top. Like I would go, oh, well, this is a cheat day, I might as well go ham and just eat whatever I want. When I'm eating, we have like a full English breakfast and then croissants and like pastries afterwards. I'm doing 5 pastries and he's doing 2. So even though he's choosing a suboptimal choice, it's still better than mine. And that's why his health outcomes are better. And if you've been on the health journey for a while, you'll start realizing that your bad choices aren't as bad as they used to be. And this kind of leads on, I'll probably do a separate video on this, but slow progress. But slow progress is better than no progress. So even if you don't get the perfect choice, rather than doing the worst, if it's slightly not as bad, if that makes sense. So for me, for example, in terms of food, I used to work at Domino's as a delivery driver, and some people would get the close finish shift, so you'd have to like wash up. And me and my mate Shane joke about this. You'd get the pizzas that are left over from the end of the night, and you, when they shut the shop, you do your last delivery, and then you've got a couple of hours of washing up. And we just used to like talk about this. Our diets are pretty clean now, but there was a time when we'd be in the sink washing up, so you've got like soapy what's it called, sink water your hands are in. You'd have a pizza up on the rack there. This is 2 o'clock in the morning. You're washing up, you're picking up pizza that's been sat on the rack for 3 hours with soapy sink water and eating it and then going to bed. Like, that's literally the worst. That's like the worst choice. Yeah, you could probably do worse, but it was pretty bad. It's pretty filth if you're trying to be healthy. You're eating terrible food with sink hand water, going to bed straight afterwards, sleep deprived, going to work the next day. That's suboptimal. That is not a good choice. Project that forward, look into your crystal ball and see what that looks like. That looks like overweight, some seriously bad health outcomes. Couple that with the fact that you need Monster Energy to keep you awake for the shift. I was literally like falling asleep while driving for work. It wasn't good, so I was taking Pro Plus to stay awake because I was... Anyway, that's not a good choice. An optimal choice is to do your work and don't eat that bad food prep stuff that's good, and eat nourishing food and then go to sleep and sort your circadian rhythm out. So you get the point. And this is why you might change your job. Do you know what I mean? So I looked at that. I looked at my Domino's setup and I was like, I can look in my crystal ball and go, if I continue to do what I'm doing, I was gaining weight, so it's pretty clear anyway. But just thought I'd share that with you because it's something you take for granted. You can literally tell the future, and you can do this more accurately than you think. We tend to think there's quite a lot of luck involved. And like with my YouTube channel, it gets a bit harder when it's out of your control. So something like diet it's clockwork. If you do this, you get that. Make the good choice, you'll get the outcome. That's why diet is actually, it took me 10 years to figure out, but it's actually quite simple, because the cause and effect, where calories in versus calories out works to some degree, it's literally a numbers game. But with my YouTube channel, if I have a goal of a certain subscriber count or whatever it is, or views or watch time, if I upload a video every day, the chances are I'm going to reach that goal. That's a good choice. If I don't upload, that's the worst choice. I can't get views on a video I don't upload. I can't, do you know what I mean? So let me know if that's occurred to you. It seems obvious, probably not something you're implementing. And give it a go. Look into your crystal ball. Say you do drugs, right? You smoke. Look into the ball. You can see how that goes. It costs you money. I think you get the idea. So do the practice. Look into the crystal ball. Are you doing the worst option? This is like rock bottom stuff. You might be doing that. And even if you just increase. So that was my point. At Domino's, that was where my bad choices were. My bad choices were very bad. Now, a cheat day for me, the other day, right, I slipped up on the carnivore diet and I had a bowl of shredded wheat. No, it wasn't, it was Weetabix. I had a bowl of 2 Weetabix, some milk with blueberries and strawberries on it and raisins, right? And that was me making a bad choice. When I compare that to Domino's pizza at 3 o'clock in the morning with dishwater hands, that's a big difference. And that's at 3 o'clock. I had the Weetabix up at I had the Weetabix cheat meal. It wasn't even a cheat meal because you factor those in. This was just a bad choice, but I had that at midday. And then I had plenty of time and I slept fine. So, and my life is a reflection of that. I was making Domino's pizza at 3 a.m. choices. Now I make Weetabix choices. So I'm still not even perfect, but I've moved up the scale. And the more you are mindful of this, you go, right, before I eat this 3 a.m. pizza, I can look into the crystal ball and know, because with Domino's, if you've had Domino's, you probably know this, you get a food hangover the next day. I don't know what's in that dough. Well, I do because I work there, but it's not good. So, yeah, that's my point. Let me know. Have a look in the crystal ball and what does your future look like? And really visualize it. You can get this pretty spot on. You can get this quite accurate. So, look into the crystal ball. Leave a comment down below if you've heard of this practice before or you've used it, or if your crystal ball future isn't looking very good. Or if you're like, yeah, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be a millionaire on a yacht with 6-pack abs and biceps the size of Arnie. So if that's your outcome, leave it down below. Leave a bicep emoji. Actually, yeah, this is the point. If your outcome's looking good, leave a bicep emoji. If your outcome's looking bad, I'll let someone in the comments pick what emoji you do for that. So do crystal ball and bicep, or crystal ball and whatever represents your outcome. Hope that helps, boys. Speak to you tomorrow.